So, FB, you promised us some answers.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. First off, don't ever call me that again. It sounds stupid. Second, I promised questions and maybe answers. And C, you can just call me by my first name. I haven't gone by Professor for a while now. I have a first name? Stop pulling that lever, bRanN.
I like it though. It's fun. I'll stop.
I have a first name? Oh, right. The memory loss. The memory what?
And the hearing loss.
I heard that! Quiet, please. Okay. I'll give you the basic rundown, but not here. Follow me.
Where are we going?
The projection room. It makes storytelling more fun. Now, this could get a bit complicated, so try not to interrupt. Alright. bRanN.
We'll see.
So, back when you first worked for Greg Tech.
I never worked for Greg Tech.
bRanN, don't interrupt. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Project display. Besides, you wouldn't remember any of this anyway. Now, where was I? Let me start with what I have nicknamed Timeline A. So, you had just finished your advanced multi-spatial gate theory degree. I guess we thought if we specialized, school would be easier. Nope. There was a lot of buzz about a company starting up called Greg Tech. You two hit it off. You quickly had your own research lab to try and create a working multi-spatial gate of your own. We were on the cusp of something great when the attack happened. Our lab was targeted directly. No one knew it then, but the attack came from the Thaumcraft galaxy. Side note here, magic folk can't exactly see into the future, but they can feel it. If we had been allowed to make our discovery... Exactly, Projector.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt, but you keep saying we.
I'll get to that during Timeline B. So, where your lab was, there was now just a black hole of nothingness. Greg Tech was doing so well because of the excitement and potential surrounding your work. After the attack, Greg's company quickly spiraled downward. Greg struggled desperately to reconstruct our work, but progress was too slow, and he was quickly running out of resources. This was Greg's turning point. This was the birth of Gregorius, whatever his last name is, the founding point of GTI. He found a way to go back in time, this time with a plan. So there are two Gregs? Well, there was.
Pardon the intrusion, sir. You have an incoming communication from Greg.
Would you two please excuse me? I think it's better if I take this message privately.
Are we the same person?
Don't ask me. I still don't even know my first name. Welcome to Minecraft Mechanics.
Episode 6.
Today we'll be talking about mob spawners. We already talked about mob spawners. Are we doing reruns now?
No, this is part 2. We covered all the basics in part 1, and this time we're going to go over a few more of the parameters in a little more detail. I'm also going to show some example spawners that I've made, as well as direct our viewers to some resources that they can use to make their own custom spawners, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good to me.
Please enjoy the show. Well, we're finally back. That took a while, but more on that later. Of all the different tags we've covered, there's a few that really require a closer look to how they actually work. To start with, let's look at max nearby entities. We have a villager spawner, and that is set to max nearby entities 2 with a spawn range of 4. Spawn range is important because the spawner will be using this number to calculate exactly how far it's going to look to find entities that count towards its max nearby entities cap. To calculate exactly how far the spawner is going to look, it's going to use this equation. In this case, with a spawn range of 4, you're going to take 4 times 4, that'll be 16, and then add 1, and that'll give you 17 by 17 by 9. And this will be the entire block, a square block, and it will be centered on the spawner itself. Now let the testing begin with our spawn villager egg and our spare rod. Spare the rod, spoil the child. Oh, sorry, sir. I just killed 1, and now we have 2. And we'll execute these 2. Don't worry. They knew they were going to go through this. And we have 2. This is set on a 1-second delay. Now we're going to put a villager here, and this is above this box. So this should not count. These guys go away. There's 1. There's 2. I thought they were going to prove me wrong and make me look stupid. Then I'd have to do another take. Don't do that to me! Come back! There you are. Okay. He does not count towards the range. This, however, is on level with that and within these borders. So if we put a guy here and we say, please leave for a moment. Please come back. You see we just get 1. So this is a pretty reliable boundary to find. Now we should get nothing. And just to make sure it is working, let's go ahead and get that off our limit. So we should still get 1. I'm waiting. There you are. And even for the very tiny, tiny corner. And we say, goodbye. See you later. We should still get 1. Anything? And there we are. Now I know I keep saying spawn range, spawn range, spawn range. And I just said we're going to be first focusing on max nearby entities. But this is only spawn range as when dealing with max nearby entities. Because the spawn range for spawning and the spawn range for that is different. So, just to quickly recap, this blue wool here, which is 17 by 17 by 9, or from the spawner, 4 up, 2 times the range out from the center. Because in this case the range is 4, so you have 4 here, 4 there, 1 for where the block is, 4 here, and 4 there. And that is the area it will check. That one's easy to understand. Now, spawn range on its own, as to where these little creatures can pop into the world, that gets a little more weird. You see this red wool? Spawn range on its own, when referring to specifically the spawn range of our cute little box inhabitants, it's simple enough, right? It's 4. So you see here's 4 blocks, here's 3, because actually they're, see, now there's 3 now. What? Hold on, that doesn't make sense. Well, here's the weird part. This corner right here is the -x, -z corner. And then you want to go to about the center point. So right along this line, in the center, that is where the spawner is checking from. So if you were to imagine a line there, and draw 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the line there again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is 4. And from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again then from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it starts at a weird place. And I'll show you how to figure out what corner is the right corner. But the other thing it does is it can spawn essentially one above and one below. And the reason is because I think it goes 1 up and down. And because it goes 1 up, from here up, it kind of has half of this block as part of its range. So you can still have stuff appear on a spawner. But if you've ever put a spawner under a single block and there's no dips, like you could have, if you pretend this is the landmass and there's a hole, technically this could still pop a creature there. But if it was flat, if you had everything one layer within this red defined area, this would not be able to pop anything into the world. But like that, all of this is valid. So essentially, nothing can appear on this layer. And the same with here, it can go down about 1. So anything on here is game, but nothing below that would work. So determining your negative x and negative z corner is as simple as popping up F3. And then you got all this crazy information. Hold on a second here. If I simply start this black wall, you can actually read the numbers. So if you look where x is right there, and it says negative 1501. So to find the negative corner, you're going to want to move so that that number counts down. Except in this case, since it's a negative number, you actually want it to count up. So if I were to walk backwards, you would actually see that number decrease. Right? Yes. Oh gosh, I'm so confused. Let's... Oh, what's this? What's that? I'm at 0, 0. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, me. You're welcome. Alright. Don't say I never did nothing mean to myself for your benefit. So if we look at the x, go this way, it's counting up. So we want to go the other way, and that's counting down. So that we know that of this block, the negative x is the left side. Essentially, if there was a line here, why don't I go ahead and overlay that? And x goes negative to the left in this case, positive to the right, and so we want the negative x side. Now we also want the negative z side. So if you look at the z, currently set to 2 point whatever, go this way and it's counting down. So now we know this is the negative corner of this particular block. We'll make it a different block. So if this was a spawner, it's a boat spawner. Probably needs to have water. So if this was a spawner, our range would be determined from this point. I'll draw a line there. It's magical. The power of video editing. So that's a real pain to figure out, but once you figure it out, you're set. Oh, this blindness. Cure. Aha, much better. So according to what we've done over there, that means if we were to walk in this diagonal direction, both the negative numbers should increase. And of course, if they were positive numbers, they would decrease. So that's how we know this is the correct layout for this spawner. And actually, if you were to make this once, you could copy it in MC Edit and paste it, and as long as you don't ever rotate it, it's going to be accurate. So when you first saw these lines, you might have thought, what is going on? But now you can see the red is the spawn range of the mob spawner, and the blue is the area it will check to count towards max nearby entities. And this little purple wool is simply where the red and the blue line intersect. So does anything else really need a closer look? Delay is set to a random number as determined by max and min, and these are simply in ticks, and they don't do anything weird or funky. Spawn count is simply how many entities it tries to spawn at each delay cycle. And we just went over max nearby as well as the two different things that the spawn range could be. Required player range. This one is a little confusing. Maybe confusing isn't the right word, but it doesn't exactly work. Like I thought it would. Let's look at this guy. He actually has a player range of 4. So what I've done is I've stood in places and just figured out, okay, the block I'm standing on activates this spawner with a range of 4. So I'm going to put a glass block there. So because there's a block here, that means if I were to stand on this, so if I were to put a block underneath and stand on this, if I were to get there, this would activate the spawner. Interestingly, if you go here, and I'm showing you my cursor to show I'm on the left half of this block, it's not active. But if I'm on the right half of this block, it is. So again, we have another, where did this go? Right there. We have another one of them funky calculations. It's not actually counting from the edge. It's counting from the center. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, really, to illustrate this perfectly, I'd have to install micro blocks. Same with the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. But what's up with this? If you look, there's 2 blocks above and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks below. I would think, even if it was using the bottom of the spawner to count 1, 2, 3, it should still have a whole line of 4 above it. Yet, this is not valid. Yet if I go all the way as low as here, it is. So the best I can determine, and this is just kind of in-game trying to figure out, I don't really know how to code dive. Those of you that do, please do and explain it to me. If you were to imagine a line that's cut in this cube, the bottom of the cube, either diagonal or plus, it doesn't matter, but a center point right there. That is where this is counting from. It's counting from that dot. And I imagine the shape to end up being something like this. Nothing. Nothing. Something. Yeah. So there's this diagonal line. So it's kind of strange. But that gives you the general idea. Okay, I'm getting bored of drawing all these imaginary lines and putting wool everywhere and counting things. Let's have a little bit of fun. MC Edit. This is the tool I'd say you have to have, really, if you want to be doing custom spawners and honestly a lot of other mapping stuff. Okay, so here's a bunch of semi-random spawners I brought in. Let's actually jump in game and take a look. So first on my sideshow is my healing station spawner. This is a thrown potion spawner that spawns healing potions. And it only spawns them when you're within range, and it simply drops them. No momentum data. Let's take a look inside. You have custom potion data, amplifier 0, ID 6. That's the healing potion, that's the amplification. And you can go to the wiki and look up any information. You can change this around however you want. You can also modify any of these settings that we've already looked at. And you could have your very own Throne Potion spawner. You may also be aware now that you can stack entities. Well, somebody said, I'm bored, I want to make some spawners. And I said, hey, what about some spiders riding on some skeletons? It doesn't really look all that great, but let's look how it's done. This uses the tag called riding, and underneath riding is essentially the other entity. And so I think we could even copy this and then come under here, paste it right in here. So now we have riding again, and inside riding. And if we clear out some of these guys, it's like they're wearing hats. Oh my gosh! That actually looks really hilarious. This guy here is sadly my trademark. The Windstorm Skeleton. They're horrible creatures. Custom name. Custom drop chances. And you could set these to whatever you want. If you want them to drop their item all the time, set it to 1. That's 100%. The equipment they have. So this 1, slot 1, damage 0, ID 301 should be Boots of Feather Falling. And the enchantment, which is Feather Falling. And then his other item, Windstorm Battle Bow, with, I believe, punch and sharpness. Give me a bow. I'm in creative, so everything's getting deleted. I say give me a bow. No? Alright, it's not worth it. This guy here is supposed to spawn skeleton riding on a squid, but honestly, I'm not quite sure how to make it work. I think he'd probably have to spawn above the water and then fall in, because I don't think water allows for mobs to spawn. This is a falling sand entity spawner, and the beauty about falling sand is that it can become essentially any block. This is my attempt, work in progress, at building a player spawner. So the idea is, as soon as you come within range, it tries to spawn like a million at once, and it just gets this tiny little column of redstone, and so your wiring would be anywhere within the border of it, and then just activate whatever you want it to activate. Just because it works in peaceful or not, and it's kind of like a one-time on switch, stays on. And it seemed less complicated than some of the other setups you'd have to do. So you have your falling sand entity ID, and then you essentially have your tile ID and some other things you can kind of tweak. And you'd probably want to check the wiki to see what the details of all these are, because it's not something I've messed with a lot. Honestly, I used a filter to create this, and then I just kind of modified the numbers using this mod. Come out to play! These are smoke clouds. They're just blazes with invisible potions. Nothing super fancy. You can still see them, but I don't know. I just like them. I like the effect they give. And this, they just have the active effect tag. Duration, ID, amplifier. And again, they can hold equipment. They won't display it, but they can hold equipment. They should be able to take advantage of it. And these are my quick silverfish. And these are kind of neat. They have a little custom drop. Silver magma cream. Custom name, entity ID, active effect, which is speed. Drop chance, 25%. Silver magma cream. Item ID 378, which is just magma cream. If you get a bunch of these, they'll stack with each other, but if you get regular magma cream, it won't stack with those. So it's almost like you're creating your own item, even though it's kind of something that already exists. What What have I done? I've just made a horrible mess. That's alright. I'll clean it up later. Or I'll just make a new test world. Whatever. I do want to say one last thing on here about spawn potentials versus spawn data. They're essentially the same thing. And if you don't have one, delete, save, it will typically recreate it. Now I just deleted spawn data and it did not recreate that. It's possible in the newest version that it doesn't need that and that it always only goes by spawn potentials. I know if you delete spawn potentials it will recreate spawn data. It might be that that just stuck around in the older version for a kind of compatibility thing, or it might just be that it needs to run through a couple cycles before it tries to recreate. But you don't need both. You just need one or the other, and if it needs the other, it will create the other with the one you have. Just make sure when you make a change that you've made a change to either both of them or to one of them and deleted the other, so that if it does repropagate anything, it will do it with the settings that you wanted it to have. Well, I really think that's about the extent of everything I wanted to show. I've kind of showed the basics as well as the details of how some of these numbers work. I've given you a great example of the different kinds of spawners you can have. I've figured out that some of my spawners are broken and I need to fix them. But you can download them from my website. All spawners that I have in all my maps. I'm just going to have to go through them again and make sure they're all working correctly. The only thing left I really haven't covered is how you can start really easily doing this yourself. For the most part, you're going to want to get mods like the in-game NBT edit. And for modifying schematics outside of the game, you'll want to get a program like MBT Explorer. That essentially is the same thing, only a program you run separately. You'll of course want to get MC Edit if you want to take advantage of all the filters. Filters from people like SethBling and lots of other crazy genius smart people that basically make it so you can practically make anything you want really simply. SethBling, for example, has filters where you take your custom items you want, put them in a chest, put them in a specific order, select that chest, it turns it into an entity, then you'd select that entity and turn it into a spawner. And even with the in-game MBT edit, you can take any custom mob, scoop up their data, copy, take a spawner in this root directory, and then you'd have to rename it to spawn data. But if you look underneath, it's essentially the same stuff as underneath here. Don't worry about writing any of these programs I'm saying down or trying to search for them on the internet. I've included in the video description below a link to a file that will give you a link to all the other files. It's just a nice little PDF sheet I put together. With that you can get to some very good video resources. SethBling, Vex, Traslander, hi folks, I'm Adam, Texalef, and of course my channel. Some great programs that I recommend you check out. Camu's custom spawner, very easy to use. MC Edit, Inventory Edit, MBT Explorer. A few links to some great MC Edit filters. Some what I think are essential mods. In-game MBT Edit, Too Many Items. And lots of various links to different places on the Minecraft wiki where you're going to want to get very familiar, because that's going to give you the stuff you need to make all the custom changes you want. Your potion IDs, what they do at what level, your item IDs, the text code to make the items whatever color you want, that sort of thing. So with that, I shall bid you all adieu. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had a good educational and fun time. Apologies one final time for the delay. We've just been really busy at home here. We're getting ready to move. As of this point, Minecraft mechanics will be going on hold. It will come back in August. It will come back most likely in a different form. When Minecraft mechanics first started, it was just supposed to be a couple skits, couple quick jokes, very basic. Hey, here's what I can do in Minecraft. Here's a cool little mapping trick I learned. Tiny, like a 5-10 minute show. It quickly turned into, hey, wait a minute, we're almost creating a storyline. Hey, this is interesting. And now, it's crazy. It's fun. It's cool. I love it. But I didn't mean for this to be 10 minutes of animation, 20 minutes of tutorial. I guess my point is it became something amazing, but it became way more than I ever meant to try to manage at this early stage of my YouTube career. But both parts will be back in one form or another. My current line of thought is the animation will be a separate thing on its own. Just a little fun, maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes. We'll have to find out. And the mapping bits, well, definitely, as I map, as I mess with stuff, as I toy around and try to come up with interesting things, I want to share those with everyone. Well, that's about enough rambling. This has been bRanN. Your comments are always appreciated in the comment section below. Please click that like button. Please subscribe if you have not yet. That's the best way to support me to keep doing what I'm doing. I will see you next video. Have a great day.
What do you want, Greg?
Is that any way to talk to your best friend in the whole wide universe? Ha 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 ha.
We haven't been friends in years. There's something not right in your head, Greg. You should have it examined.
Okay, that's enough games. I try to play nice, but you make it near impossible. So, Brandis, what's your plan to try to stop me this time?
Why would I tell you that again? I still remember what happened during Timeline R, and don't think you can track me like in the previous timeline either.
Why not? Because you stole one of my ships? Wipe that stupid look off your face. Did you think I wouldn't notice an entire ship missing? Those aren't cheap, you know.
Was there a point to this communication?
Yes, actually. I enjoy watching you squirm. Ah! Point your extended short-range scanners on Vector 49. Coordinates 362, 74, 510. I'll be seeing you real soon.
Displaying defined area now.
Enhance. Enhance.
Identification complete. Creatures are cybernetic, genetically enhanced tracking squids.
We're gonna have a problem here.
Why not post about your favorite custom spawner idea in the comment section below?